Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have an 11-game slate for the NBA. We have a lot of injuries today. We have a lot of interesting games, though. So I'm going to first get into my picks for each game, and then get an injury report, and then get into the picks. So with that said, let's get into that. Before I do that, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? It really helps the channel. I really do appreciate it, you guys. With that said, let's get into it. So for I got Indiana over Portland. I have Philadelphia over Chicago. The Knicks over Toronto. I have Brooklyn over the Pelicans. Oklahoma City over Washington. I have Milwaukee over Charlotte. Spurs over Detroit. Denver over Cleveland. Clippers over Minnesota. Phoenix over Miami. And Atlanta over the Lakers. So we have a pretty crazy slate here. Lots of games to consider today. Let's get into the injury report here. For the Trailblazers, we have Grant is questionable, Nurkic is probable, and Winslow is out. For the Pacers, Jackson is out. For the Bulls, Caruso and Green are both questionable. For the 76ers, Embiid is out. For the Knicks, Barrett is out. For the Raptors, Porter is out. For the Nets, Warren is questionable. For the Pelicans, Nance is questionable. Zion is out, and Ingram are out. For the Hornets, Oubre Jr. is out, and Hayward is doubtful. For the Bucks, Middleton is out, and Giannis and Holiday are both probable. For the Wizards, Beal is out. For the Thunder, Pokusevski is out. JRE is out, and Jalen with a Y is out. Because there's two Jalen Williams. They spell their names differently, but Jalen with a Y is out. Pistons, Cunningham and Bagley are out. For the Spurs, Vassell is out, and Richardson is questionable. For the Cavaliers, Garland is questionable, Mitchell is out, and Wade is out. For the Nuggets, Murray is probable, Jeff Green is out. For the Clippers, Paul George is questionable, Wall is probable, Kawhi Leonard is doubtful, and Batum is questionable. For the T-Wolves, Reed is questionable, Towns is out, and McLaughlin is out. For the Heat, Robinson, Jovic, Kane are all out. Martin is questionable, and Dedmon is probable. For the Suns, Cam Payne is out. Booker is out, and Cam Johnson is out. For the Hawks, Capella is out. For the Lakers, LeBron is questionable, Westbrook is probable, Troy Brown is questionable, Davis is out, Walker the fourth is out, and Reeves are out. So we have a lot of injuries, a lot of situations that we could take a look at for good plays as well. It should be some good value opening up throughout the day when it comes to these different slates. I am going to look at a couple teams here before I get into the who I like here. One being the Lakers. Since they have so many guys out, I actually think if LeBron ends up playing, he's going to be viable, but he is risky to play. And same with Russell Westbrook. So just keep that in mind. I'm also going to note Cleveland. It looks like maybe that they're not going to have many point guards, and that would definitely make Nito and LeVert really interesting today. LeVert's price has come up some. I just wanted to mention those guys as well. And so, also for the Clippers, there's a whole bunch of dudes that could be out here. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are both who knows what, and so that could open up Morris and Batum and others. So, obviously, we're just going to have to wait and see on that information. But those guys are potential. I just wanted to give that added extra here because, as they sit, I can't really say for sure who's going to start and who isn't. So let's go ahead and start and get into the players I do like today so far. We have Killian Hayes for Detroit. He looks like he's in a pretty good spot here. There's a lot of guys, injuries to the Pistons and guys that are out still, and so I expect him to play well. He's had some big games lately. He has some kind of upside because his price has come down quite a bit. But he has, he is a little bit inconsistent, but he's still viable on the slate, especially in a nice plus matchup against the Spurs. Then we'll look at Landry Shamet. Now, he needs to start for this to play out, but he's been playing pretty well with Booker out. And with the other injuries, he should have full complement of minutes in this game. I expect him to get over 30 to 35. This is a not ideal matchup for him, but again, with all the injuries there, he has somebody you have to take a look at. Then Alec Burks also looks pretty interesting today. He's been playing pretty well as of late. In fact, I don't think he's under 5x in 5 or 6 games. His price obviously has come up, but he's very viable on this slate in a plus matchup. Trey Jones, with all the injuries to the Spurs, also looks kind of interesting today. especially if Richardson is out. He's going to get more minutes as a result, and he's been playing extremely well lately, and his price has actually dropped off a little bit, which is surprising. Then we'll look at Chris Paul, who's going to have all the offense and probably play around 40 minutes that he can handle today, assuming it stays a tight game, which I expect it to do so. He has nice upside in this matchup at this price point, even though it's a tough matchup. Then James Harden, he plays really well when Embiid is out, and last game he delivered with a 50 fantasy point game. His price point is right at 10,000, so he does need 50 points to 5x, but he's definitely capable of doing so. And this is actually a situation where I think he'll probably eclipse that. Then Rui Hachimura, he's been playing really well when Beal is out, and Beal is out today, so I expect him to get a full complement of minutes, and he's been playing pretty well lately. I expect that to continue. Then we'll look at Keldon Johnson here for the Spurs. He's actually starting to get a little bit more consistent than he was earlier in the season. He's battled some injuries throughout the year, but he has some nice upside at this price point. His price has come down quite a bit, so I do like him a lot on this slate. Then we'll look at Jeremy Sochan for the Spurs. Now, he has been up and down, but if Richardson is out, he's definitely somebody to take a look at. We're also looking at John Collins, who's just been playing absolutely great lately. He's had some really big games, so he's had a couple off games, but for the most part, with Capella out, he's been taking advantage of that situation. And then Sadiq Bey, I'm not sure if he's going to be starting or not today. He didn't start the last game, actually. He kind of had some off games when he started, but his price point is pretty okay here, and he's got some upside in this matchup against the Spurs. There's, in fact, you could also, look at some of the other Spurs, or the other Pistons as well. Daniel Gafford, though, for Washington, he's been playing really good lately. He seems to have kind of gotten to a stride here. His price point has popped up a little bit, but I think he's viable on this slate in the plus matchup. Okongwu for the Hawks also looks interesting today. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but he has plenty of minutes coming for him in this game. And I think he's going to have a good opportunity to have a big game here. His price is still too cheap for his production as the season has gone on. And then Jalen Duren, I've really liked him as a pretty consistent player lately. He had a couple off games, but he has been pretty good since he started starting, and he's been getting a lot of minutes for the most part. He's had a couple games where he got into foul trouble, which hurt him, but overall, I think he's a viable option on the slate, especially against a Spurs team that doesn't have much to go against him. I'm also going to mention the Pelicans, because depending on what happens with Nance and Herman Gomez, you could end up seeing Marshall and Murphy and Herb Jones being a top tier options today, but that's still a wait and see, and they do have a tough matchup against Brooklyn. So let's get into the players I do like, though, on FanDuel now. We're going to start with Killian Hayes. He's price point over here on FanDuel is not super ideal, but he has some upside here, though he's been wildly inconsistent, but it's really hard to find a lot of value here on FanDuel. Though Trey Jones is one of the better options here. He's been pretty consistent lately, and I expect that to continue here. Plus, he's got some added bonus that some of the guys for the Spurs are out. Honestly, FanDuel is kind of a mess today, but, it's been a mess for a few weeks now. CJ McCollum also looks pretty interesting today for the Pelicans. He plays really well when Zion is out, and his price point has come up to reflect that. But he has upside in this matchup, though it is a tough-ish matchup against Brooklyn. James Harden looks like probably my favorite play here on FanDuel, just because his price is about the same as on DraftKings, and he has nice upside when Embiid doesn't play. Then we'll look at Keldon Johnson, who his price point is not super ideal, but he has some upside here. He's been playing well, and with injuries to the Spurs, he should get some more minutes, and especially in this plus matchup. Then we'll look at Najee Marshall, who has played pretty well with Zion out, and if he can get over 30 minutes, I think he's definitely capable of having a 30 fantasy point game. Same goes with Trey Murphy, but we'll have to wait and see about Larry Nance here. But he has some upside when Zion is out, especially if he ends up starting and stuff. But he didn't play the last game all that great, which was kind of a disappointment. John Collins for the Hawks looks really good today, and a nice matchup here against the Lakers. And he's played really well with Capella out. I'm also going to look at Miles Turner for Indiana. Now, he's been very all up and down all season long, but his price point is still pretty good for what he's been doing the last 4 games. And if he can continue to do that, then he'll be somebody that's worth taking a look at. Tobias Harris also looks interesting today. He is a little bit risky because he hasn't really had one of those uh, big games lately that we typically get from him. But with the Embiid out, he should get more opportunity to shoot, get jump shots, stuff like that. And so I definitely like him on the slate. Then we'll look at Daniel Gafford for Washington. He's played pretty consistent for the most part. Obviously, his floor is not quite as high as I'd like it to be, but his ceiling is good in this matchup here, and I think he's a great option here against Oklahoma City. Okongwu for Atlanta also has been playing really well for the Hawks with Capella out. Now he's had a couple missteps, but overall he's been hitting good marks throughout the season, and I like him as a good player on this slate. And then finally, Thomas Bryant. He's also around the same price as Okongwu. He's filled in pretty well for the Lakers at center with Davis out, and I expect that to continue here. He also has some pretty decent upside with a similar type of floor that Okongwu has, so you can kind of take or pick which guy you like better. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Again, thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and have a nice day, guys.